Hello everyone, Gaara here and welcome to another brand new episode of Deck Analysis. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Today I'm gonna take a closer look at the Marsh Queen Carnassa. Why is the Hunter quest so bad and will never see play in competitive Hearthstone? So let's take a closer look at it. So the first and the biggest downside of all quests is definitely that you start with one less card in your starting hand, which is a huge drawback. On top of it, in the most optimal case, you want to play the quest on turn 1. So if you are on the coin, I think you're even further behind as when you are going first, because when you go first and you play the quest turn 1, you're at least first to act, and then on turn 2 you have a chance to react to your opponent's turn 1. But if you are on the coin, it could be that your opponent starts already with a very powerful 1-drop, and then you counter it with your quest, and then if your opponent has a follow-up play, you might already be too far behind to have any chance of winning. So for the Hunter quest specifically, playing the quest on turn 1 has a much bigger drawback than any other quest in comparison, because of the condition of the quest. The quest wants you to summon 7 1-drops to complete the quest and then get Marsh Queen Carnassa, which is a 5 mana 8/8 that shuffles a bunch of raptors in your deck. So the way how the Hunter quest works is you really wanna play the Marsh Queen Carnassa on curve to have like a very similar effect as the Bittertide Hydra, like a huge tempo card. So it would work, this playstyle, if you just, constantly flood the board with 1-drops every turn and then follow it up with Marsh Queen Carnassa and then just keeps flooding raptors on the board. That is like the whole idea and the concept behind the deck. But in such decks where you want to go for such a game plan, we can really compare this to Pirate Warrior, which curves out into Bittertide Hydra, which is kind of like a Marsh Queen Carnassa that doesn't shuffle a bunch of raptors in your deck. But you start off with an Azov First Mate and you build your tempo and an unremovable board. And if you play a quest, do nothing on turn 1, that is obviously really bad. And this is also what loses the Pirate Warrior most games if you just start passing from the beginning. If you play a Quest Hunter, what you're doing in the most optimal case is you play the quest turn 1 and then you follow up with 2 1-drops. And 2 1-drops are really not as powerful because you mainly play neutral 1-drops as Hunter. And I think the most optimal way to play Quest Hunter would definitely be kind of like a life coach version with as many 1-drops as possible. Maybe add in the Prince Khalisev to just increase the overall power level of your deck. And just flood the board, try to survive, try to get the board control with your 1-drops with just spamming them every turn, and then curve out into Queen Carnassa as fast as possible. So there are so many issues with that gameplay. So first of all, you absolutely, if you only play 1-drops, you definitely want to play a 1-drop on turn 1, especially if you go first. And since the quest requires you to play or summon the 1-drops, you have to play the quest first. If you go first and play a 1-drop before you play the quest, you are already reducing the time in which you will complete the quest, or upping the time in how long it will take you to complete the quest. So absolutely contradicting there. So the quest doesn't work with the tooltip completion. Like, it wants you to complete the quest as fast as possible, but since you have to play the quest turn 1, it really contradicts with the overall game plan. The second problem is you start with 1 card less, which means completing the quest till turn 5 is close to impossible. So if you go first, you will start with 2 cards instead of 3, because you have the quest and you play the quest, and the quest is obviously not helping you to complete the quest. And till turn 4 you will have enough mana to complete the quest for the Marsh Queen, but you will only have 6 1-drops drawn if you only play 1-drops till turn 4. So basically you need to have a card like Firefly to be able to complete the quest theoretically up till turn 5 or before turn 5. And that is really bad, and that's the biggest problem. Even if you only play 1-drops, you can't consistently complete the quest, except you get extremely lucky with the macaw or you draw the Firefly. First problem, it's almost impossible to seize board control with only 1-drops if you're not playing a 1-drop from the beginning. It's almost impossible to complete the quest before turn 5 if you don't have an insane draw, even if you only play 1-drops. Since you have these two huge, almost close to impossible requirements, the quest reward has to be so insane that it is game winning. And that is the third biggest problem. The quest reward is kind of like meh. It's pretty much a Hydra with a small upside. Like, the quest is so hard to complete to just get pretty much a Bittertide Hydra. If you would just play a Bittertide Hydra in Hunter, it has close to the same effect. In a normal midrange Hunter, you would play the Bittertide Hydra on 5 and probably follow it up with the Hymen. And in the Quest Hunter, if you have the perfect draw, you will play the Queen Carnassa on 5 and hopefully, with a lot of luck, chain 2 or 3 Raptors on the following turn, which is comparable to playing a Hymen. But the whole early game is 10 times worse. And again, you have to have a perfect draw for that to even happen. And that is the main reason why Quest Hunter cannot ever be a viable deck. The quest reward is simply too bad. Just compare it to the new Deathstalker Rexa from Knights of the Frozen Throne. That card alone has way more late game finishing potential than the March Queen, and it is just pretty much one card you just throw in your deck. You can still play Curve, you can still, you know, play a bunch of removals, play all the good cards, and play the Rexa on 6, and you can play infinite good minions afterwards. 10 times better than the March Queen, but you have a much more powerful game before that. So how could you balance the Hunter quest so it would see play? I think either it should be in your hand from the beginning, you would still draw one additional card, so you don't lose a card, so you would consistently could at least finish the Queen Carnassa before turn 5. As I said, you can't even draw enough minions theoretically without a Firefly, with one card being behind from the start. So you either have to draw one additional card from the start, or at least the quest has to cost 0 mana. Since the quest will still stay in the game for another year, I figured a really cool change would be to at least reduce the mana cost to 0 mana. Because we have all these cool quest cards in the game where we can't build any decks, not even fun decks, because the fun decks are so much worse than all the existing other tier 1 decks of those representing classes. So you can't play any version of the quest decks on any rank except you play like Quest Mage, because the mana cost doesn't matter for Quest Mage. And in some cases Taunt Warrior, but Taunt Warrior got also nerfed with the War Axe nerf. So none of the quests are playable, and that is such a shame, because we had an entire expansion dedicated to the quest card. I think if you change to a simple change, as in just changing the mana cost to 0 mana, I think even the Shaman quest might have some potential. Again, the Shaman quest is very similar to the Hunter quest. It really contradicts with the game plan. You really want to start the game with playing a Murloc on turn 1. Similar to Hunter, you really want to play a 1-drop on turn 1. And it really contradicts so much with being forced to play the quest on turn 1. I think that is really a big flaw, because you are already starting one card behind. I really don't like it. And again, the quest reward is really not too powerful whatsoever. Like, even if you consistently complete the quest on curve, you still pretty much get a Bittertide Hydra on 5. It is not OP whatsoever. I think none of the quests, besides the Mage quest, Rogue quest and Warrior quest, are OP whatsoever. So being able to, you know, at least be able to complete them in a reasonable amount of time would be such an awesome change. I know Blizzard has never buffed any cards besides the Naga in the most recent events, but that is really something. When you think about it, the quests are gonna be in the game for another year and they're all unplayable. That's really, yeah, that's really bad in my opinion. It would be so cool to see the Hunter quest at least changing it a little bit so it's playable would be super awesome. It will definitely not break the game. And so yeah, that's my take on Quest Hunter. And that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos as well. Also make sure to check out my daily streams, link to that is in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and peace out.